Is MFK's Baccarat Rouge 540 still worth it in 2025? Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX. Today we're going to be talking everything you need to know about Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Baccarat Rouge 540. I think it's pretty important that we set the grounds and preface by talking a little bit about the history of this fragrance and how it became one of the most successful fragrances despite the expensive price tag. Now, Baccarat is known for their crystals. They have a lot of crystals, and that's as far as I know about Baccarat, but they do a lot of like glassware, etc. And this was, if I'm not mistaken, a collaboration with MFK in creating their fragrance, if you will. So a little bit of a description. This was created in 2015, and it was by MFK, aka Maison Francis Kurkdjian. And he's known for a lot of great creations in the perfume industry, including some of the newest Dior Homme reformulations, which a lot of people have mixed feelings about. But for me personally, I love the new take. I love the original ones as well, but they're still pretty good. So MFK has this very French appeal or style of perfumery that I personally believe is very prominent in a lot of his fragrances. A lot of them can be light, diffusive, airy, and just this aura overall, which comes with a certain level of luxury or finesse. There's a certain delicacy to that style of vibe, especially when you're rocking fragrances that just seem like they're not suffocating, but they're present and they're prominent. And that's his specialty, at least to my nose personally. And that's what this is all about. It's all about those vibes as well, along with some of the other new fragrances that you'll find to have, his name stamped to it, like the new Dior Homme. Yeah. And you could perfectly see this in some of the earlier creations of that Dior Homme, like 2020. So let's go ahead and talk about the note breakdown for Baccarat Rouge 540, which include at the top, we've got saffron, jasmine. In the mid, this is where a lot of the heart of the fragrance is what it is. It's gonna be amberwood, ambergris, and hedione. And in the base, some of the strongest notes for this one is going to be the fir resin, ambroxan, but there's also a sugar, cedar, and oak moss. So this fragrance since 2015 has been one of the most hyped fragrances. It was rapped about, sung about. This fragrance started something that was relatively new. It had this spun sugar, cotton candy, airy and musky vibe, along with this oriental edge coming from a metallic saffron, grounded into this ambergris, ambroxan, and also some of that really prominent fir resin and maybe touches and hints of cedarwood blended with musk. So the fragrance in itself was composed to be something that was diffusive and sugary and airy, but also still have something that's pretty grounded in that fir resin, along with some of those amber woods, etc. A lot of people would describe this fragrance as smelling like a doctor's office, synthetic, headache-inducing, etc. And the other side of the spectrum will just find it as something intoxicating and one of their signature scents. Well, it's kind of easy to understand where some people will get this as synthetic because it seems like a fragrance that's composed off a lot of exactly that, synthetics, including the note of ambergris, which is more than likely a synthetic compound since we are not allowed to use natural ambergris, along with ambroxan, which is probably just a double listing, and hedione, and on top of that, amber woods. So there's a lot of synthetics in this fragrance that really create that effect of being fluffy, of being projecting, and potentially even, for some people, synthetic smelling. But for those who are able to tolerate this fragrance, they get much, much more. In the opening of this one, it does open up relatively feminine, if you will. For the most part, the general masses will agree that this is a unisex, feminine-leaning fragrance, and more than likely because of those inclusions of some of those florals, including hedione and jasmine. Hedione in itself can contribute a floral aspect, but for the most part, at least in perfumery from what I'm aware of and my own personal uses, is really to create that 3D and fluff effect by using that hedione. So leans floral, opens up relatively feminine with that metallic spiced style saffron with an undertone of sugary ambers. Overall, recreating this, I don't want to say cotton candy because it's not really that candy, but it does give you this cotton style of musky aura with a slight sugary undertone. And I think that that's more appropriate to use than saying cotton candy, because cotton candy, you think of it like with, raspberry, and typical carnival candy has like, some kind of fruit essence. But if you were to strip away the fruit essence and you just spun straight up sugar, you'd end up with this. And that's the best way that I could describe this scent profile. The fragrance in itself does not really develop. It doesn't really transition. It just pretty much starts off as this musky, airy, saffron, metallic style of sugar fragrance that very slightly gets warmer and ambery and woody, but that's it. Within the first hour, you're gonna pretty much experience the entire transition of this fragrance, and that's pretty much it. With that being said, sometimes the most beautiful things in life are the simpler things in life. And that's exactly what this one does. And it really capitalizes on the artistry of the composition, the perfection of using synthetics and maybe some naturals in the fragrance, and the way that this one really behaves and projects while giving you a certain level of aura and sophistication. So the sophistication, I think, is accomplished with A, the simplicity in its scent profile, focusing on the highest of quality, and B, the way that this one performs and projects at last. One of the other things that this is popularly known for is going to be going anosmic to it, also known as nose blind, and also being faked. Now, the first topic, as far as going anosmic or nose blind, this is very common practice with more linear fragrances or more synthetic fragrances as well. The way that our brain works is basically detecting scent profiles and smells to survival tech. For a survival method, if you will. If it's something that it detects as harmful, it tells you to run away. That doesn't smell good. Ew, get away from the poop.
Holy shit, where did that come from?
Once it determines that it's not a risk or harm, it turns it off. Now, if you have a more transitioning fragrance or something that has a bit more aspects to it, you might catch different wafts as you turn around, but that's pretty much how the anosmic thing goes, happens. And that's really the reason why that a lot of people go anosmic to this, is because it's a pretty consistent and linear scent profile after that first hour. So in order to help that, you can use this and spray it on your shoulders and your arms and maybe the back of your neck and the back of your, side of your neck, if you will. Keeping it away more so from like the center of your chest, and maybe even using 1 or 2 sprays under your shirt. With that being said, I've smelled this on so many people, wafting after hours if they put it on. I've complimented this for so many times, it's crazy. So to answer the question that you guys are probably itching and dying to know of, if whether or not it's worth it, it really depends on you. Now, my simple answer for this is, it depends.
You just got pranked, bro.
Why did you... Oh, come on!
Long story short, is Baccarat Rouge 540 worth it? Yes and no. Now, if you're one of those people who want the best and only the best quality, and truthfully, the ultimate refinery, you won't get it in anything other than this. And so for those people who are just getting into perfumery or just getting around to trying this fragrance, although there are a lot of other fragrances that smell like this, nothing is exactly the same. And it could be for a certain level of objective quality that you'll find in this one in comparison to some of those other inspired buys. Now, there might be fragrances that are like 100, 150 bucks that try and get close, etc. But take it from me, as somebody who's tried so many of those dupes and inspos, they all have a little bit of difference, and sometimes it translates into a worse experience with the scent profile to begin with. And then you have a massive amount of people who take this fragrance as something that's metallic because they've lived through that scent profile, or off-putting, if you will, because they've lived through the scent profile through something cheap, through something that's inspired by it, that's not quite the exact same quality as this one. I will say, in comparison to a lot of those dupes and clones and whatever the heck you want to say, nothing touches the quality when it comes to this. Now, in regards to the no. The no is simply because of the outrageous price points. Now, when we're talking about something that's like this, 2.7 ounce, even on discounters, good luck finding this for less than 500 bucks or like 450, maybe 400, okay? A 1.7 or a 1.8 is around 320 bucks, and you get a jumbo for about $600. Now, when you're talking about something like Baby Cat, etc., selling at 100 mLs for like 400 bucks, it makes the case a lot harder. Sure, with Baccarat, the brand in itself, nothing is cheap. And obviously you have a pretty well-known perfumer creating something that was revolutionary in the fragrance industry, if you will. Although something similar to me, personally, the creation of the fragrance in itself was something that was pivotal. And a lot of fragrances were inspired by this for a reason. And with that being said, for those of you who really love the scent profile, the answer is almost always going to be yes. If you really love this, save your money for this, because I'll tell you what, nothing will get as close to this. I mean, do I even need to tell you that? I mean, that does come with, you should already expect that. Now, are there other fragrances that get respectably close? And for some people who are on budgets, or even not on budgets, good enough, yes. But for those of you who are really into this scent, the original just has a certain level of cleanliness or a certain level of finesse. And even though I mentioned a lot of the synthetics that this is composed of, it's still high quality synthetics. And so for that reason, the higher, how do you quantify the quality of a synthetic? It comes down to how close to the natural recreation that synthetic can get. So with that being said, of course, it's gonna be using the most natural recreation using synthetics. it's gonna be in this. Whereas the cheaper versions, obviously, they're not gonna focus too much. They're gonna use those synthetics, but not focus too much on how do we get it to the highest of quality naturalistically while giving longevity and performance as it will with it. I still, even though I'm saying yes, for those of you who it's worth it to, because I personally, in all honesty, I would buy it again. I'd bitch about it. I'd bitch about the price while buying it because I think it's crazy, the price, but I'd still buy it again. But for those of you who really don't have the means, no, bro, no. Unless you really, really love it, then save up for the original. That's pretty much the answer. I know that, you know, a lot of people look for reasons not to purchase this one, and I live in a world, or you guys know me, like when it comes to dupes, inspired buys, I'm all for you. I'm all for consumers. I'm all for us, right? Winning with a scent profile. But when it comes down to BR540 and certain level of not complexity, because it's not quality, and really finesse, especially when it's as, you know, epic as this fragrance or as pivotal as this fragrance, then the reality lays in the objective quality that this one does come with that the others can't. I've had plenty of dupes that are great and they'll last and they'll smell good, but and like sometimes they'll be headache inducing, sometimes the quality just isn't there. And then I just end up feeling dumb. And you end up buying like 3 or 4 or 5 and it's like, damn. But also it doesn't matter how much you wear of it. If you're gonna just drink this or go through it, then it's another factor to consider. But if you ask me, is Baccarat Rouge 540 by MFK still worth it in 2025? Honestly, yes. It would just be an easier yes if the price tag was cheaper. I don't agree with the price tag, but the fragrance, I can't deny it is that good. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's my honest opinion on this too of Baccarat Rouge 540, is if it's still worth it or not. And I want to leave you guys with a piece of advice, if you will. If you don't have the means to be purchasing a fragrance of $500, you know, put it on a wish list or something. Don't go out of your means to just buy a fragrance or a bottle of juice for Baccarat just because of the name, etc. But if you do want definitive or quality, that's what this video was for. It's not intended to make you feel pressured into purchasing and just, you know, trying to, oh, get Baccarat. I don't care to do any of that, man. But this channel is always and will always be about objective truth, reality, and quality. Over the years, I've amassed a collection of over 3,500 fragrances so that I can come back, give you guys my experiences. And I will follow this up with a bunch of fragrances that smell like this, that ultimately when I make a lot of those Clone War videos, I'll drop a disclaimer and let you know that it's never 100%. And in the cases where very rarely, sometimes a fragrance, I'll enjoy it even more than something else like this, I'll also let you know. And that actually does happen. Not frequently, but it does. For example, something like Tribeca by Bond No. 9, it smells like BR540 with an addition of vanilla. And some people actually like that DNA more. I don't, but just giving you an example, yeah? Hope you enjoyed watching this video. My name is Neeb. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.